conference brings together thought leaders, CSR experts, tech for good champions, grassroots NGO practitioners, and public policy leaders to discuss the trends, challenges, and way forward for the CSR space. With the underlying theme of energizing the CSR ecosystem with human-centered innovation, the conference this year will engage in discussions on bringing data, technology, strategy, and global standards in spearheading new age CSR in India. Before we begin, I would like to thank our platinum sponsor Accenture, our silver sponsor Society General for their support, session partner Satwa Consulting, and event supporter Times Network. So to start our proceedings for the day, I request our dignitaries to please come on stage. It gives me great delight to call on Mr. Shrikant Sinha, CEO NASCOM Foundation. Shrikant, please bring with you Shri Rajkumar Srivastava, Advisor, Government of Karnataka, Department of IT, BT and SD, and Mr. Joydeep Mukherjee, Managing Director and a part of the leadership team and Accenture's Advanced Technology Centers in India.
Thank you, Smriti. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a pleasure to see so many of you here year on year. Thank you for the support that all of you are giving us. As Priti, my colleague, mentioned, this is the 4th edition of the CSR Leadership Conference that we are doing over here in Bangalore, and we do a similar one in Delhi also in the month of February and March. But the response that we get from Bangalore, especially from the corporates and the social sector over here, is really encouraging for us. If we look at what NASCOM Foundation has been doing since our genesis in 2001, IT industry was one of the fortunate industries to look at doing responsible business right in the beginning itself. And our genesis is, and in fact, we are about Sweet 16 right now because we were set up in 2001. We have seen so many changes happening if we look at the ecosystem itself, starting from plain, simple telecenters today. Technology has invaded, technology has enabled, technology has created life-changing impact. And that is what we at NASCOM Foundation have been witnessing a lot. If we look at how this intersection between the corporate action and social development has really changed lives, we can really talk about a lot of things which are also there on the government's agenda. Probably I'll start with a very basic few things that we have seen in the last 3 to 5 years. Very first thing was digital literacy. We have seen through digital literacy how domestic help in Calcutta get empowered to become and call Kaki in a house in Calcutta, an illiterate 55 years old, absolutely illiterate lady, undergoes a digital literacy program, is the domestic help for 8 years with the family, learns how to use Facebook, gets the center head to create a Facebook page for her. All she does while browsing is comes across a photo of the first birthday of the grandchild of that family. All she does is clicks like on that. That day onwards, she becomes Kaki of the house. And strategic social impact projects for the underprivileged. Today, if you look at, and we always talk about, and India is very proud about the demographic dividend that India has. The number of youth, 35% plus youth, our youth right now, and of course, this number will keep on increasing. And one thing that you have to keep in mind is most of these youth are first-generation graduates, persons from Tier 2, Tier 3 towns and cities, and I'm very happy to say that last year we skilled close to about 100,000 plus such youth and empowered them so that they could get access to jobs. And this year we'll be doing about 130,000 plus youth whom we'll be empowering so that they can get jobs. And these are from the Tier 2 towns and cities, Tier 2 towns and colleges, etc. We are also working very closely with the IT BPM industry, and that is where we look at jobs for the future. Of course, we are having a plenary session also, which will address some of these issues, because typically when we picked up the paper about 6 months back, it spoke about IT industry laying off people, IT industry doing this, IT industry doing that. Well, just to help you understand about the IT industry, we are $152 billion today. We employ 3.9 million people in the industry. For every single IT job, there are 4 or 5 ancillary jobs that are also created. So you can imagine what kind of workforce the IT industry is. And the best part is that despite whatever the newspapers would have published and printed, 150,000 new associates have again joined the IT industry this year in 2017-18. So if you look at it, we are looking also how we can skill and upgrade our curriculums that we impart as skill training to the underprivileged and the underserved youth of the country. So we are looking at cybersecurity, analytics, robotics, AI, machine learning, and so on and so forth also, because that is where the jobs will be there tomorrow. Some of you were part of this session, which was on storytelling. Out of NASSCOM's own study, the NASSCOM SSC and NASSCOM own study, we found out that one of the 55 job roles that will be there for the future, one of the job roles would be on storytelling. And the session today morning conducted by Twitter and LinkedIn was basically giving you a glimpse of what we are heading towards. Increasingly, companies have been challenging their core competencies in bringing social transformation. And over there, I would probably like to mention that NASSCOM Foundation itself, looking at today we are 32 lakh NGOs in India, which is more than the number of pediatricians or gynecologists that we have in the country, which is a fact. But most of the NGOs probably, require our support, hand-holding towards more professional management. And that is where NASSCOM Foundation, along with its academic partner, TIS, as well as the grassroots partner, Head High Foundation, started a program which is a Metta Fellowship, which is a Buddhist term, and Metta means brotherly love and concern. And this fellowship is nothing but a social sabbatical for a period of 1 year, 11 months in fact, where a person from the corporate field can actually experience through immersion as to what the social sector has to offer. After 26 years in corporate life, when I decided to do something for the country and the society, I wish there was a program like this so that I could have easily moved and moved into the sector. But the sector has its own nuances, and that's where we looked at creating such a program, which is a long-term immersion program where these associates would be connected to corporates, from corporates would be connected to the social sector and NGOs and INGOs to actually help improve the productivity over there. And at the end of this 11 months period, they would get what is called as a Metta Fellow or a fellowship, which will be co-signed by our academic partner as well as Head High. We would be happy to talk to some of the corporates over here as to what this Metta Fellowship can do for their organizations. And as my colleague Smriti said, we are all wearing organizer badges, so please feel free to reach out to any one of us. If we look at one of the things that NASSCOM Foundation has been doing really well and really changing the social fabric of the country is our social innovation program. NASSCOM Social Innovation Forum is in its 10th year this year, and with the partnership of MX, Emphasis, Accenture, we have been able to scale up the program further, where this year itself, as part of the program in catalytic grants, we are giving 1 crore worth of rupees as catalytic grants to social enterprises. So in case any one of you has got a technology-based solution which you would like to scale up, which you would like to try to understand as to how either technology access, market access, testbed access, or catalytic grant can really play a part and create a difference, and you feel that your model is scalable, you still have 1.5 days to go. Today is 29th, applications close on 30th. Please, please, please apply. Otherwise, you'll have to wait for 1 more year for the NSIF in its 11th year. But over the years, what we have seen is phenomenal. We have seen childhood deafness being detected at 45 days. We have seen parents who are hearing impaired, wearing a device, which is probably on display over here at Blee Technologies, also one of our NSIF winners, as to how they actually record the voice of the baby crying, and through a wearable device are able to understand when the baby is crying, because otherwise they had to stand over there and keep a watch on the baby to see if the baby was actually crying. We have seen people moving from when electrification and water started reaching the villages. There were not enough ITIs, there were not enough plumbers and electricians. So one of our NSIF winners created self-paced videos of 5 minutes each on how to fix a fan with a regulator, how to connect a mixer with a tap. And this was sold through regular telephone shops at a price of 25 rupees extra. 25 rupees for the SIM, 25 rupees for the content. And this was available on flash phones also, which really created. So innovation can happen in each and every way. And that is why the theme for this year's CLC is human-centric innovation. Because we feel that if we need to do improvements in India, if we need to change the social fabric of India, it's very important that technology is used as an enabler to ensure that the change happens. Today we have about 2,000 plus innovators as part of our networks. 80 plus organizations have benefited from the NSIF awardee, and I'm sure some of you are there in the room. Can I quickly see a show of hands of the NSIF awardees over here, if we have any? Okay, there are a couple of them in behind, and of course, a lot of them have their stalls outside. So I would probably tell you, request you to have a look and interact with them during the tea breaks and the lunch break. Another thing that gives us immense pleasure, and probably I can very proudly say, I'm standing over here today thanks to Delhi Public Library. The first access that I got to books and the Asterix and the Tintins, etc., which we used to read, and I still do, was at the Delhi Public Library. But unfortunately, today our libraries have become places where books are issued and books are received. That's all. We need to make them places which are more attractive. We want to make them places where a lot of people actually engage. We want to convert them into community engagement, knowledge and information resource center. And that's where we are running a program called as India Public Libraries Movement, which is funded by the Gates Foundation as of today, to ensure that public libraries again become part of everyone's lives. And we'd be happy because later on, as part of a session called Powers of Collectives, we would be talking about that also. We have also seen that how India became a signatory to Haryana Vision, Vision Zero, which is how do you ensure zero fatalities on the road? And NASSCOM Foundation, along with NASSCOM and a Power of Collective, which we'll talk about during the day again in that session, how we use technology for mapping black spots in Haryana. We mapped 111 black spots in Haryana, which are places where more than 5 fatalities have happened in the last 3 years. We looked at how signs, the road signs, etc., are wrongly placed, how small engineering interventions can actually stop fatalities from happening. And we converted a lot of things over there. We also did a lot of work in the disabilities section, where we have more than 3,000 plus people doing, learning digital literacy skills. We have, more than 300 people undergoing training and skilling at our centers in Delhi, Noida, and Bangalore for it, where, these people are, later on, a job fair is conducted and they are given suitable and meaningful employment. We, of course, have seen a lot of things happening. And that's where our agenda today has been curated in such a way that our learnings that you carry from here are maximized. We had great fun putting this conference together. I hope you enjoy the conference as much as we enjoyed putting this conference together. Of course, my colleague has already mentioned, I would once again like to thank our sponsors, because without which this would not have been possible. The scale, the size, and everything else. So I would like to thank our platinum sponsor, Accenture, silver sponsor, Society Generale, and our session partner, Satwa, as well as our event Supporter Times Network. I would also like to thank Mr. Gaurav Gupta, who's the Principal Secretary, IT, BT, ST, who in his absentia, for all the support that he has been providing to NASSCOM and NASSCOM Foundation here in the state of Karnataka. With that, I would like to pause over here and just would like to wish you have a wonderful conference and see you later. Thank you.
With that, I would now request Shri R.K. Srivastava to please come and address the audience.
Dear Jadip ji, Shrikant Sinha ji, and my friends, today we wished that we should have been here with our full strength. Our Principal Secretary wanted to be here. We also wanted to be here. But unfortunately, today was last working day of this present setup in the government, and our present Chief Secretary is retiring, and day after tomorrow, we are becoming the first state in the country to have women Chief Secretary and women DGP of Police. So let us celebrate this. And we have many, many more reasons to celebrate. As industry, we have reasons to celebrate. And as Bangalore, being capital of this industry, we have reasons to celebrate. But instead of getting into the reasons why we need to celebrate, let us look into the responsibilities which comes to us along with this celebration. The responsibility to all of us is to look into future, immediate next future. When IR4 is happening, what would happen to Karnataka or what would happen to India in next immediate 5 years? We are shifting from service industry to tech-driven innovation industry. We wish Karnataka should be a rock belt of all innovations happening in all future technologies all over the world. And with that dream, we are in fact wishing and willing to change the name of the department itself from Department of IT/BT to Department of Innovation and Technology. So as the industry changes, we are ready with you to change even at a faster pace, even at a pace which you would envy us. We wish to change. This year itself, in last just 3-4 months, we started a COE of data sciences with NASSCOM. Another 2 months, we are starting a COE for cybersecurity, again with industry partnership. We are starting a COE on machine intelligence, robotics, and artificial intelligence with industry. So all these COEs and all these efforts, whatever we are trying to take, is to just ensure that in any future technology, in any area, wherever the industry is wishing to work, we should be there with you with the right kind of policies, with the right kind of interventions, with the right kind of platforms where the state flourishes, the industry flourishes, and overall we get many, many more reasons to celebrate in future. Now, when we look at what the industry is actually doing and what we should be doing in future as part of our CSR, please see that you are holding almost 700 crores as of now, and in future some 2,000 to 3,000 crores every year as you are spending in CSR. And this is not a small amount. And there is a difference. When IT sector invests in social innovations and when you invest in your CSR, it has much, much more capability of having social impact rather than an oil company doing it. So my invitation to all of you, I have been seeing your NASSCOM website and I have been interacting with NASSCOM and NASSCOM Foundation. I have been closely following what all activities you are taking up. Even last year I was here to see the exhibition and see the exhibitors who had done really good innovations, and later on we followed some innovations also. But my invitation from government side is to scale up. For all good works what you are doing, for all innovations what you are bringing up, for all small twinkling stars what you are creating all over the country, government can help you, or it's our responsibility to ensure that we help you to scale it up. We help you to scale it up so that you reach maximum population, you have the maximum impact, because we wish to be, because money is not so important. Money, we can also put in that money, but that money with quality of human intervention which comes from IT industry, that is much, much more important. Like he said, 32 lakhs NGOs are working. 32 lakhs NGOs are working in the country. But see the social sector, what's happening. You see the difference of one NASCOM foundation, what kind of difference you are making. So let us join our forces. Let use government as your force multiplier and ensure that whatever good work, in a small area or a big area, whatever you are doing, we are able to take it to the masses. And at least in Karnataka, I assure you that no stones will be left unturned to see that whatever good work you are doing reaches my last mile in the villages in Karnataka. I have two specific requests. To the industry. Today when a student enters an engineering college, he is not sure whether once he comes out of the engineering colleges, he will be going for the same job role or not. Job roles are changing faster than the pace you are able to decide the qualification packs. By the time qualification pack is ready, the job role has changed. In this scenario, the industry needs, we request your intervention. You are already doing, but we wish that you scale it up to a level where it changes the education system in the country. Just 2 years back, had you asked the bankers, I wish to take all payments from the banking industry, they would have simply said it is not possible. But one single intervention, today 40% of the payments are out of the bank. Similarly, today in the education system, when you go to university and say that I want to change your syllabus, it is not possible. Their academic council committee will sit once in 3 months. And in 3 months, you can change the course itself. So I need a Coursera. I need brothers and sisters of Coursera. I need industry starting recognizing these skilling efforts and starting giving jobs on basis of these skilling efforts so that the industry changes and the day is not far. Maximum 1, 2, or maximum 3 years, you will find all these skilling efforts fructified and people starting getting jobs on basis of these skilling. We have a program called Yuva Yuga. Yuva Yuga is nothing but one-line program. One-line program means the age of youth has arrived, and it should arrive with the lead of the industry. The program is industry-led skilling program, and that is the one-line program. We do not have any guidelines. The only guideline is the program, the skilling has to be tailor-made by the industry. The industry has to lead it, either directly or through its training partner. And you are otherwise also spending on your skilling programs. We give you 35% of the training cost, just requesting that if you are training 100 people, instead of 100, train 135. You take the best 100, let remaining 35 be left in the market to be absorbed by others. So you cannot find a scheme which is one-line scheme. And even this one line also we are willing to change. If the industry has any specific request, any specific demand, any specific lab, any specific software, please do come to us. We are willing to consider that. This year we have plan of skilling about 110,000 engineering students. NASCOM electronic sector, this IT sector skill council has already partnered with us. We are partnering with the NASCOM Foundation also. But I invite each and every industry directly, indirectly, or through NASCOM Foundation, whichever way you want to design your courses. The only underlying factor is whatever you teach, whatever you skill, at whatever cost you want from government, it should be able to give job to that particular person. If that is the criteria met, rest we are ready to consider. And next important thing I would like to invite you is, please take care of responsibility of the unconnected population, what you are creating. You means we, you along with me. The IT department and the IT industry, we have this year become the second largest connected population of the world. My connected population is already getting the digital dividend. They are flourishing. But again, we have still remained the most unconnected population of the world. 44% of the population which still remains unconnected. What about them? This digital divide is more crippling. This digital divide is more crippling, and it is more magnified over a period of time. Had there be poverty for 10 years, the effect will be seen in 10 years. If there is a digital divide for 2 years, the effect gets multiplied for 20 years. So it is our responsibility to see that my last man in the village, or not only village, in Bangalore city itself, in a city like Bangalore, we have areas where we have pockets where connectivity doesn't reach. Connectivity doesn't reach either because of the household size is so small, the wire cannot go there, or people's capacity is so less, the connectivity cannot reach. For whatever reason, we have a target of, we means we as a government, as an industry, we have a target of reaching this 44% of the population. This year in Karnataka, we are doing public Wi-Fi, 1 square kilometer public Wi-Fi in 2,500 gram panchayats. This is a very, very, very small step. We still have 3,500 gram panchayats. We still have another 27,000 villages which are not even connected by wire. So it is our responsibility to see that the remaining 3,500 gram panchayat we reach, remaining 30,000 villages we reach, and my last mile person is not left out of whatever we are talking of, whatever innovation we are talking of, whatever future technology we are talking of. Karnataka may reach anywhere, but my last mile person should also know where he has to go. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
I request Joydeep to deliver the keynote address now. Joydeep leads Accenture's Intelligent Platforms practice and is responsible for building industry-differentiated innovations for platforms. As part of Accenture's India leadership team, he leads multiple programs to drive inclusion across gender diversity, people with disabilities, and LGBT. Welcome, Joydeep.
It's been a pleasure to listen to Mr. Srivastav and Mr. Srikanth. And I'm very impressed with some of the initiatives that the state has taken and talked a lot about some of the topics I'm going to touch upon, about innovation, about impact of innovation, about digital divide, and what we need to do as a group within the umbrella of NASSCOM as for getting that agenda forwarded, right? So the topic is largely about, as part of the CSR initiative, what do we do to have, to sustain a better inclusive ecosystem, a better community in the digital world, right? So if you look at some of the data points, I mean, you have digital pervasive across industries, you have digital pervasive across all layers of society, for all jobs, pretty much. And we talked about the amount of payments that is going outside of our core banking system. So you will see a lot more use of digital, a lot more use of security, artificial intelligence, pretty much all kinds of technologies that's going to impact us. And it impacts entire family, our children, and our housekeeping, everybody. So that's where we need to work together. So if you look at some of the data points, okay, beyond this is some of the India data points. Globally, we will have over 500 billion connected devices in a few years, by 2030. Okay, globally, 90% of those jobs will leverage digital technologies. It's quite scary, actually. And even if you look at the NASSCOM data, India is pretty much, after its telecom boom, everybody has a mobile device, and from everybody having mobile device, everybody has data now, and pretty much free, and pretty much not to worry about what the STD, ISD rates are, which some of us could relate to. So everybody having data and a smartphone, makes us more impactful as a society, leveraging these technologies, but it has some of these data points that you see on the screen. You have, over 730 million internet users coming up in the next couple of years, of which 75% of them are going to be from rural areas. Amazing, right? Just think about that. I mean, we leverage all our use cases that we think of. We can't even relate to some of the use cases that are relevant in rural areas. And some of that, 75% of that is going to be consumed in local languages, vernacular languages, right? So there is enormous amount of work that needs to be done so that people who are consuming that data is actually astute in digital technologies, right? So some more data points would be, 70% of these e-commerce transactions actually happening through mobile phones. We already do, all kinds of e-commerce. You've seen groceries, travel, 50% of that, of the travel transactions are going to be online through mobile transactions. So you will see more and more use cases, business use cases coming up, which will be relevant, but now we need to make them relevant for rural areas, which makes the whole problem more complex, because that's where you heard Mr. Srivastav talking about the digital divide compounding every year. And hence it is extremely critical that we address it very, very strongly now. So if you look at, broad digital divide, it's largely because, people don't have access to the right kind of education, right? If you miss the education bus at a young age, the people in the rural areas, they just don't have a chance competing with people in the urban areas, right? I mean, they don't have the right kind of wherewithal, understanding of the technology, how to use it. They don't have the right kind of information. Pretty much most information is coming out in the digital form. Most forms, government forms, are in digital form, right? So there starts the whole divide, right? So if you have, the whole marginalized communities, people with disabilities, some of the marginalized women as well, rural women, LGBT community. I mean, there's so many people who are getting impacted because of the digital divide. So if you, I mean, I was not aware of this 44% number of unconnected people. I mean, that's the scary part. I mean, you have more and more unconnected people, and the need for being connected is that much more important. So let me give you a great example of, 22-year-old, I don't know where it connects to, but all right, okay, we're good. So this picture is of Nazia Alame. She's from 22-year-old. She's from West Bengal, a place called Mithia Bruce, a suburb of Kolkata, and is part of a 7-member family. She had 2 sisters, 2 brothers, and parents, and clearly, after graduation, she didn't have the resources to continue her education, and no avenues to really earn. She didn't know anything digital. In her situation, unlike many others, she actually got, into this whole DIA program, which is the whole digital inclusion for young aspirants, which taught her many ways of, you heard about the Kaki app and the whole initiative. So many ways to actually leverage digital technologies and use them. Worked and interviewed with iMerit. iMerit Technologies actually partners with many crowdsourcing work platforms like SamaSource and Crowdflower. These actually help in, and several firms, and several of the large global firms actually work with these people. They help in many things like image tagging, captioning, data verification, enrichment of the data, of all of the online content. Someone with good education, a decent education, with the right kind of digital technology skills can actually leverage that in a huge way. Today she is actually, she is employed, she is earning for her family, like many others are doing that in using these tools. Just to quote her, I mean, she says, I think it's there, with tremendous support from my trainers, I was able to clear the interview at iMerit. And today I can proudly call myself an independent girl able to add to the income of the family. And this is actually, the whole thing was funded by Accenture's Skill to Succeed program, which works with people in those small communities. And that's that's many firms, many global firms are doing that, similar kind of initiatives which is working with these communities to reduce the digital divide. Now, as a next step, right, if you look at the role of CSR, how are the various ways we're going to enable this program, right? One is, of course, looking at digital identity. I mean, there are many people who have skills. Now, there are jobs which require those skills, but those don't know who has the skills. So your first agenda should be, how do I identify those people, legitimize their skills through certification, through online identification, verification, et cetera, right? So that's the first agenda. I mean, identification of the skill supply. And there are some firms which are doing that, ID5, Better Place, Microsoft, Sangam. So there are, Sangam leverages Aadhaar for identification. Clearly, that's something, we can leverage at scale. So we need to take this in a larger forum, right? LinkedIn's working on some of the initiatives for the blue-collar community. So I think, once we've identified, we need to figure out how do we deliver digital skills to the masses, right? I mean, there are many jobs today which require understanding of technology. I mean, even a basic carpenter's job or plumbing job, you need to understand. I mean, you need to first get the job, quotation. You need to leverage, if you see some of the companies who are using like Urban Clap, aggregates a lot of these plumbing requirements and carpentry requirements. So that's, for that, the mason needs to understand that technology, get payments online, et cetera, right? So some of these massive open online courses that are there, the mobile apps, they deliver learning, he talked about Coursera, we need many more Courseras, very simplistic, very pictorial, et cetera. English Dost and Vahans are some of the platforms leveraging such technologies and delivering to the masses. Very good initiatives. Accenture's digital life skills toolkit that they are working with Quest. Very interesting thing, I was actually talking before this started. Quest actually has a good blend of, people cannot go online and learn. The community I'm talking about. So Quest does a mix of both, making sure that they learn, and they learn to learn online and they're handheld for some of the courses as well. So they are working on this, offered to over 150 institutions, over 30,000 youth benefited from that. That's a great example of how you scale this up, right? Digital skilling from a literacy level to fluency level, so that's the next level of complexity, and you need to get, again, crowdsourcing people like Sama Source and Anudeep Foundation, which she leveraged as well. So I think there is a lot of benefit of understanding social media, analytics, mobile, et cetera, all the digital skills to figure out how do you work in a crowdsourced platform. So and crowdsourced platform, interestingly, is actually pervasive even in the technology, the typical IT world as well. So you are going to see these being, the new generation of people leveraging these platforms, just not, people who have the digital divide, but we also don't. and are astute in the digital technology. So clearly, creating more such platforms is a great solution in my mind. So, and finally, looking at the whole volunteering engagement, getting more digital about that, that's something, the whole Hour of Code campaign from code.org, right? So several companies like Microsoft, Google, Cisco, Salesforce, all of you have seen they are actually, including Accenture, of course, are driving the whole agenda to have more people use technology, learn to program, learn to code, and also the whole STEM agenda to have kids learn the sciences and engineering to leverage a better technology learning. So that's the leveraging volunteering in technology itself. There is a program that we had within Accenture called Coder Dojo. It's actually extends the whole hour of code to an entire year and leverages that in a big way. So that's this is some of the various ways you're going to leverage digital technologies in just reducing the whole divide. Of course, Tech for Good is a great initiative. We've been leveraging technology globally, understand the technology. We do it for customers, right? And so how do you actually get those technologies, that experience in economies like India to create technology solutions for social causes, right? There is a great story where we've leveraged some of the Microsoft technologies and AI to work with the National Association for the Blind to actually find solutions, navigation solutions for the blind, called Distri. And it's very fulfilling. I mean, the way the whole technology is working towards helping the blind find the right kind of solutions for their daily work life, for their daily work, right? There is a solution which is you'll see in the booth for rural women, and they actually have a struggle with their preventive health, and how do you find the right kind of navigation technologies, taking the right kind of medical solutions, preventive health information to these women. So that's they worked with Accenture worked with Maya to actually find the solutions and the right kind of technologies and create very simple apps to do that. So that's another solution. There is a CINI solution worked for child trafficking in West Bengal. That's another one. There's some solutions, technology solutions for the deaf and mute, integrating Skype with some of the technologies, which is again it's called Dhwani. So we have several examples where Accenture Labs works on these what we call technology for good, right? So I think the biggest that you've probably heard of, and I've seen some interviews in the video outside, is we working with Akshay Patra, leveraging IoT and blockchain. Clearly a great example of how do you make the whole Akshay Patra team more efficient in their feeding of the children in the schools, so midday feeding. So those are the things that we need to do much more, I'm sure, and at a global level, at scale, right? So clearly a lot of the firms can do it and are doing it today, and these are some of the examples that I'm aware of. So that's something we should be looking at going forward. Finally, I just do want to end here, and that was my biggest agenda here for the day, is to actually call to action. How do we collaborate to drive systemic change? We really need to commit to a pledge to actually have, as a group, put skilling for the digital economy at the top of our CSR agenda. That's something that's going to, I mean, we don't have time. You heard Mr. Srivastava. I mean, every year we delay this agenda or we take it lightly, we're going to have serious implications 10 years down the line. We will have skilled people who will not come to jobs because they are disconnected, right? We have this 40% disconnected people. Secondly, so we need to make sure by 2020 we have 50% of our initiatives focused on reducing the digital divide. And secondly, building partnerships to co-create the digital asset or platforms. We talked about some of the crowdsourcing platforms, but we need to figure out how do you commit to work with great platform providers and technology leaders like Microsoft, Cisco, work on these technologies to actually help the marginalized community and do that within 2018 and make sure that we do that very structurally with focus and working with these great companies, right? I think ultimately, let's all work together to build the future of many more NASIA alumni that I talked about, and that's pretty much what I had to talk about. Thank you.
With that, I think we will go to the section where we release NASCOM Foundation's annual report, Catalyzing Change. I request Ms. Richa Bajpai, founder and co-CEO of Good Era, to please join us on stage for the release. Can we have the reports on stage, please? Ashok from NASCOM, can you please join us on stage? A brief overview of the report. Please bring it to the front. The Catalyzing Change Report 2016-17 reflects the evolved and strategic nature of business philanthropy in the IT-BPM industry. We hope the report enables the reader to deliberate on the changes a mandated CSR regime is bringing about in the Indian development ecosystem and its many aspects. We thank our research partner, Good Era, for their critical help in developing this report. Thank you, Richa, and thank you, her team. Report design partner needs a special mention, Design Brewery, for their amazing support with the visuals. A digital copy of this report will be available on the NASCOM Foundation website tomorrow for download.